Getting back to our laws of Lashon Hara, speaking favorably about one another, discussing now who Lashon Hara pertains to. Certainly, in front of non-Jews, certainly not the right thing to talk Lashon Hara about another Jew in front of a non-Jewish person. We have our little family squabbles and problems, keep it to ourselves. If we have something against somebody, we're not supposed to speak against them, but certainly to take it out of the family and talk about a Jewish person or a non-Jew, certainly not the right thing to do. You cannot believe Lashon Hara, no matter from whom you're hearing it. The general rule is every Jewish person should not accept and believe Lashon Hara about another Jewish person. Every Jewish person, like I mentioned last time, whether man or woman or child, no matter who they're, scholars, ignorant, no matter who they are, we should not accept, no matter who we are, about somebody else, no matter who they are. We hear about slander, gossip about somebody, just roll off of us like a water off a duck's back, not to take it seriously. Because usually it's exaggerated, it's out of context. We don't want to believe any gossip about another Jewish person. Even from a parent, even somebody that's close to us, still, just like we're not allowed to talk against them, we're not allowed to accept from them Lashon Hara, no matter who they are. We can't accept Lashon Hara from no matter who says it. Not only that, but if we do hear Lashon Hara from somebody, whether even it's a parent or a close friend or a relative, we have to try to stop them and tell them that this is not right. You don't speak Lashon Hara about people. We have to rebuke even parents. Of course, it has to be in the proper way. It has to be in a way with derech eretz, with respect, to say in the right way to give them the feeling that you realize that they're parents, and you don't just tell them, you're not allowed to do that. We have to say in a soft, respectful way to tell them something that they're doing wrong. Soft-spoken. And something very important that the parents in the home should be an example for their children and show that they're very careful how they speak and not to be contradict and not practice what they preach. They might hear the children speak, you can't speak Lashon Hara, they'll tell the children, that's not right. You can't speak gossip against somebody else. And then the parents hear the children hear the parents gossiping. That's certainly not a very good example to set. And usually afterwards, they don't take the parents seriously. The parents don't practice what they preach themselves. So it's very important to set an example, to be very careful that we don't speak Lashon Hara about other people in our home. We accept, believe Lashon Hara that we hear from somebody else. And then we can be able to train our children and tell them to be careful if they see that we're being careful. There are certain expressions of Lashon Hara that seem to be innocent, but people hearing it get an impression of the person negatively. For instance, we hear them so many times, who would ever believe that he would be what he is today? Who would ever believe? In other words, he was a real difficult person, problem person. Who would ever believe that he'd be what he is today? Well, if people don't know what his background is, so what you're saying is, well, he used to be a real cheverman. He was a big problem, but now he worked on himself. He's okay. He's doing the right thing. But just saying those words gives the people hearing it that gives the impression that he wasn't so good all the time. I mean, you're not supposed to talk about a person about their background if they had not a favorable background. That's nobody's business. So you can't say, who would ever believe he would be what he is today? Because that is give a connotation that he has like we said, a negative background. That's also Lashon Hara. Or a person will say, oh, don't talk about him, don't talk about him, I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about him. Don't mention this, I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about him. On the surface it sounds like it's not, you don't want to do Lashon Hara, you don't want to hear. But what you're saying is that, that person, well, let's not discuss him, he's impossible. That's what you really were saying by it. There was any type of impression that we're giving, even though the words themselves don't bear with it a negative information about the person, not openly, but by our words, our expression, the way we say it, how we say it, when we say it, can give a bad impression about somebody, and that's Lashon Hara also, because a person walks away with a bad feeling towards that person, with that bad information. Doesn't know exactly what it is. Don't talk about him. Who would ever think he would be what he is today? You don't know exactly what he was, but something not good. So it's all included in Lashon Hara. Not only that, but a person speaks about somebody's praise in front of his enemy, somebody who sees sitting with him in a group of people, and one person that's sitting there is not on good terms with the person you want to speak about. So if you praise him in front of the group of people, and the person who does not get along with him is sitting there, what's he going to do? You think he's so great. You're praising him. You should know what he really is. I know the real inside information. If you see that the person who's sitting there is not in good terms, just don't praise him. Because through praise comes out criticism. That's also called Lashon Hara, called Avak Lashon. It's called Avak Lashon. It's a dusting of Lashon Hara. It's not direct Lashon Hara. The person who spoke in the beginning did not speak badly about the person, but you know that when you start speaking good about somebody in front of somebody who doesn't like him, chances are that some words are going to come out negatively from that person. So if you see that person in the group, don't praise the person. Not only that, but even if it's in a group of people who nobody has against anything about it, but if you praise him too much, praise and praise and praise, afterwards somebody says, well, listen, he's not that great, you know what he this and this and this. To give some praises, in front of an enemy, you can't say praise at all, because the person is going to right away shoot back with that criticism. In front of somebody, people that don't have anything against him, so you can praise a person, but not to get carried away, because you start praising him too much, then some people are going to pipe up and say, well, listen, come on, you praise him that much, he's not that great, he's this and this and this and this. So then you're again getting into trouble. Unless he's a person who has a reputation to be a very pious, outstanding, a tzaddik, a righteous person that everybody knows that he's special, and nobody would speak against him. How many people do you have like that? So a person like that would be permitted to talk about a lot of praise about a person, and of course it has a good thing to it also, because you praise righteous people, you give them on a high pedestal, so people want to be like them, they want their children to be like them. So it's good to praise righteous people, but a person like that, even a lot of praise would be permitted. So a lot of these things are not so simple on the surface, but we think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Back to our ongoing, exciting history of Yaakov Avinu, Jacob and his family traveling back from Aram Naharaim, from the place he spent 20 years, had most of his family, and he just met up with Esav, and we read the whole thing and learned about the whole confrontation, that things worked out nicely. So far, so good. So they said goodbye to each other. Remember last week we mentioned that Esav said, let me go with you. And Yaakov says, please don't go with me. Esav offered to give some of his men to help him out. Don't leave your men by me. Just go to back home again. I'll come to see you eventually, but I have to go slowly because I have young children and all the animals have to take care of. So he got Esav to leave him alone and go by himself. He didn't want Esav around. He didn't want to learn from his bad deeds like we spoke about last week. So now we come to the next pasuk. Vayavo Yaakov Sholem. Ir Shechem. Number 1 on our sheet. Yaakov came complete to the city of Shechem, lacking nothing. What does that mean? He came Sholem, complete. Why shouldn't he be complete? Looks like maybe he was missing something. To the city of Shechem. Shechem was not a very good city for the Jewish people. A lot of bad things happened in the city of Shechem, which we're going to learn about pretty soon, one of the first one. But in the meantime, he came to that city on the way back to his parents, to Yitzchak and Rivka. Sholem. So Rashi tells us, in the name of the Medrash of a rabbi is telling us, explaining the pasuk Sholem. He was Sholem in 3 different aspects of his life. Number 1, it was number 2 in our gloss, Sholem b'gufay. He was complete in his body. Shem nisrapei mitzalosai. If you remember, he had the encounter with the angel of Esav. Esav gave him a punch, and he knocked his thigh out of its socket, out of its place. He injured him, and Yaakov was limping. Of course, we learned then that next morning the sun shined, and that cured him from what his problem was. When he came to the city of Shechem, he was Sholem b'gufay. He was complete in his body, that he was totally cured. He wasn't limping anymore. That what happened to him was taken care of. It was not a natural thing, because a thing like that would take a lot of time to heal, but God made a refuah that he was taken care of. He was cured very quickly. The next morning, we say every day in the Torah, Ashrei, Shemri Hashem Skol Ahavav. God watches over all the ones that he loves. And sometimes he gives a cure very quickly. We find it today even. We find it pretty often, where sometimes a person has a test, and they have a MRI, a CAT scan, and they see something, doesn't look good. Person on any part of the body, whether it be in the lung, whether it be in the, who knows where, the liver, and everybody's all upset, all excited, what are we supposed to do? And they pray, and they give charity. And I'm sure many of you have heard about people, friends or family, and the next week they take another x-ray, another CAT scan, and all of a sudden, it's not there anymore. What happened? It's not there. So they give medically all kinds of reasons why. The first one wasn't so good, it wasn't taken right, and this reason and that reason. But we know that a person can change the status of his body, even though it might have come some type of sickness, some type of problem. But through prayer and through charity and through good deeds, things can, to show us Hashem Kerefine, we have a expression. The help of God is like the wink of the eye. And the refuah can come very quickly. So we never know. But Yaakov Avinu showed that when his problem, he was lame, limping, and within a few hours, God cured him, and he was back to normal again. Begufay, Yerushalayim begufay. We might even add that we know that a person's body has 613 parts to it, corresponding to the 613 laws of the Torah. 248 Ramach, 248 positive do mitzvahs, and we mention all the time, 365 don't mitzvahs, don't do this and don't eat that and don't do. And each part of a person, which is also Ramach, parts that he has, and Shasa, 365 different types of veins and arteries a person has. And each one is corresponding to one of the mitzvahs, the laws of the Torah. And we're told great people, when they have a problem with a certain part of their body, they're able to connect their problem, the spiritual problem, their lack of performing a certain mitzvah, which had an effect on that part of their body. The great Arizal, the great, we call father of Kabbalah of our times, has very interesting stories how he used to connect different things to tell people they came with a certain problem. He told them, you're probably lacking a certain mitzvah. You're lax on a certain mitzvah. That's why this part of your body is suffering. Do tshuva on that, and it can become better. I don't want to go into it right now. The examples of it, maybe one of these days we can discuss that. But just to give an idea that we have all the parts of a person's body correspond to all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So Yaakov Avinu, obviously, when he got this punch from the Malach, obviously he must have done tshuva right away. He must have repented, figured out what it's behind it. We discussed that then, certain things behind it at that time we discussed. And the tzaddikim, we have a general rule in the Gemara. If you saw a Talmid Chacham who did a sin at nighttime, don't even think badly about him. The next morning, he's certainly repented by then. A Talmid Chacham, a righteous person, a scholar, if he does something wrong, he makes sure to rectify it as soon as possible, right away. He doesn't wait. Some people say, I have time till Yom Kippur. Kippur, I'll do tshuva then. But till Yom Kippur, I don't have time to do tshuva. Well, Yom Kippur is a good time to do tshuva, but the best time to do tshuva is right away, not to wait for Yom Kippur to do tshuva. A great person, a righteous person does tshuva right away. Yaakov Avinu, obviously, did tshuva right away, whatever, according to his greatness, something according to the greatness of what he was, there's something, a minute feeling or thought was missing in a very small fraction of wrong according to the greatness that he was. So he fixed it up right away. By the next morning, he made sure that he was back to what he should be, and God made him back physically back to what he should be. But that's with Sholem, he was complete in his body. That limp, that problem that he had from the Malach was taken care of. Number 2, which is number 3 on our sheet, Sholem b'mamoinai. He was complete not lacking in his monetary situation, the money that he had. Why? Remember that he sent to Esav that great present of all that cattle and all the precious stones and diamonds that he gave to Esav. So, in a natural way, he was missing a lot of his financial wealth. He gave up to give to Esav. So we say, no, God right away gave him back everything that he gave away. We have this great general rule when it comes to charity, that a person should not worry about losing money if you give away charity. We're not allowed to test God, generally speaking. You can't say to God, okay, I'll do this mitzvah, now I want to see a reward. I want to see results. If I did a certain mitzvah, so I put on tefillin today, so God, let's see. Don't test God. The person will get rewarded. Eventually, ultimately, we don't test him. Kept Shabbos this week. Oh, so now I should get a lot of money come in because I wouldn't work on Shabbos. Don't test God. Person, you'll get paid back this world and the world to come. When God's ready to do it, whatever reason he might not do it right away, that's his reasons why what he has. We can't test him. But one exception to the rule is for giving charity, we're allowed to test God and say, okay, God, I gave charity, let's see you pay me back. We're allowed to test God in such a way. And we're told that if you want to salt away your money, to preserve it, give your money. Give it away. If you give it away to charity, that means that God will make sure that you have. Give it back to you. You won't be missing it. If you want your money not to lose, then lose your money. It's an expression in the Talmud and the Gemara. If you want not to lose, lose. In other words, if you want your money to stay intact and not to lose your wealth, whatever you have, so make sure to lose some. Give it away. Give charity. The more charity you give, the more God will give you back and preserve what you have. So Yaakov Avinu, he was doing this mitzvah. It was a mitzvah he was doing. Any mitzvah, we do mitzvah with our money. Any different mitzvahs we can do. He did a great mitzvah of saving the Jewish nation. He was the Jewish nation at the time. Him and his children, they were the Jewish nation. He gave away all that money and didn't lose anything. God right away gave it back to him. He made money, made some good deals, and they immediately, very shortly afterwards, Shalom, he's complete, not missing anything. Because God watches over his beloved ones. We say again, we say in Ashri every day. God watches over all of his people that he loves. Who did he love more than Yaakov Avinu? He said, Yaakov, you gave away all that money, I'll give it right back to you. And the third thing, which is number 4 on our sheet, Shalom b'sei rasai, sheshochat tamudai b'veis Lavan. He was complete and did not lack in his Torah study, his Torah knowledge. He was in the house of Lavan for 20 years, toiling, working day and night. If you remember, we described how he toiled for Lavan in the heat of the day, in the cold of the night, to watch his sheep, and he didn't have a chance to study Torah like he'd like to. Remember, before he ran away, he studied Torah by his father Yitzchak. And when he ran away, he stayed 14 years, if you remember, 14 years before he came to the house of Lavan, when he ran away from Esav. He left his parents before he got to this place that he married Rachel and Leah. He was studying in the yeshiva. He hid himself away from Esav in the yeshiva of Shem ve'Ever. His grandfather, Shem. 14 years he studied there, day and night, diligently. He studied day and night, 14 years. Imagine that. He didn't lay down on the bed even, we're told. He put his head down to rest, to sleep, his head down on the table, on the bench. but he studied diligently for 14 years. So now he came to the house of Lavan. He amassed so much knowledge over those years, and the years before that he studied by Yitzchak, his father, and now he comes to Lavan for 20 years, not being able to put that kind of hours into the study of Torah. So usually if you don't study, you forget. But God gave him a blessing, Sholem b'saras. He was complete in this Torah. He didn't forget anything. He remembered everything that he learned. So we have Sholem. He came to the city Shechem. Sholem. He was complete with lacking nothing. Not in his body, not in his financial situation, and not in the study of the Torah. He was Sholem. He's complete. Hashem watches over. Hashem is kol ehava. Watches over them that they should not lose anything. When he came from Padan Aram, why did you have to say that to us for? Number 5. So he's telling us, Yotza ploini mi piv mi ben shine arais v'osholim. He's telling us an expression that people say. You know that person over there? He went out from the teeth of the lions, and he came out complete. There's a person's expression that they used to say, when a person goes through very difficult times, suffers from all kinds of threats of people, suffers from all kinds of difficult situations in this life, and some people get broken, some people can't stand up to the challenge, they get depressed, and they get hurt by the circumstances. It's called in the teeth of the lions. In the difficult times, biting against his whole essence, biting against people's emotions. But some people are able to come out sholem, they come out complete. Some people grow from that. Not only do they come out complete, but they grow. They grow from challenges. People who have the right attitude in life, they don't get depressed from challenges, from difficult times, but they use it for themselves to grow and to become better people, and bigger people, and stronger people, more confidence to have. A person goes through difficult times, different challenges. The Torah is telling us of it. He came from Padan Aram, from the lions. Who were the lions that were trying to eat up Yaakov Avinu? Lavan and Esav. Both of them tried to kill him, tried to take advantage of him, take everything away from him. But as we learned over the last few months, he became out complete. He worked on himself, he prayed, God helped him, and was able to come out away from Lavan without being harmed, away from Esav without being harmed. Those were the lion's teeth that he was about to be consumed by, but he came out complete. And it says he came Erev Shabbos. It was right before Shabbos that he got to Shechem. And he camped in front of the city. Since it was Shabbos, he camped there, he didn't travel any further. And he bought Chelkas HaSod Asher Notar Shema Haloi Mi'ad Bnei Chamor Avi Shechem. And the field which he was camping in, he bought from the children of Chamor, some name, Chamor is a donkey, the father of Shechem. They used to call the names of some people by the names of different animals to show their strength. But Meir Kasita, he just came into the land of Israel, and people who have love for the land, want to buy a chelik in it. Many people who don't even live in Eretz Israel, but they want to own a piece of land in Israel to show the chavivus, the love for the land. So as soon as he came into the land of Israel, he wanted to show his love for Eretz Israel, for the holy land of Israel. So he bought that field that he was staying for over that Shabbos, that it should be his possession. It should belong to him, to show that he wants to be have part of the land, of the wonderful land that was promised to the Jewish people, to his grandfather. Hashem promised it to Avram, promised it to Yitzchak. You will get this land, this wonderful land of Israel that we know today. And also it promised to him. So he bought that piece of land to show his chavivus, his love for the land. He made livable. Here we come to the theme of today's shmooze that we're talking about. People, I called the title of it, some people stay aloof from the problem, some people help solve the problem, some people become part of the problem. Which one are you? We have to think to ourselves, when we face a problem, how we're involved. Some people stay aloof from it to keep away from it. That's not so bad. Some people try to solve it. That's really good. Some people are part of it. That's bad. There's some people that are always looking to be positive, to do something to give the people that he's around something better. What can he do to help? We're even told that when a person has a miracle happening for him, he should do something to show his appreciation, to do for the community something. A person has a miracle. Today, for instance, if a person has a child, to make a kiddush in shul, right? They have of course, a bris matter, but even if there's a baby girl, some people make a kiddush. They want wise. Why did they do that? Because of this, what Chazal tell us. If you have a miracle, a person has a baby, it's a miracle. So do something for the community. Help them all out. Because we know that maybe because of them, because the tzibur, maybe that's why the miracle happened to you. Because you have the schus and the merit of being together with one tzibur. So therefore you're part of the community. God does for the tzibur, doesn't do sometimes for the person himself. Because you're part of a tzibur, that's why you're merited to have this miracle done for you. Therefore, you should do something for the community. So he said, Yaakov Sholem. He came complete. The miracle came, but his body was complete. His money was complete. His Torah was complete. So he wanted to do something for the tzibur. He wanted to do something to help them out. So what did he do? So we have three different advantages that he gave to Shechem. One of them, number 6, Shvakim Tikin Lohem. Set up public marketplaces for them. This place, Shechem, was a very backward kind of primitive kind of city. They didn't have any marketplaces. How did the people buy? I think they had peddlers walking around. This one's selling potatoes. This one's selling apples. This one's selling shoes. They're walking around knocking on the door. Who wants shoes? Who wants apples? Who wants... It was a very primitive type of life. Yaakov Avinu, who was exposed to more than that, it was probably a little city it was, he came from the big cities, he set up a marketplace for them. He showed them how much better it is to have a marketplace instead of peddlers going around, and you have to wait for them, and who knows, have to make it to your house, and when you need it, they're not there for you. He set up for them marketplace. Like today, like stores. All people come with their wares to one place. The one selling the apples, the one selling the oranges, the one selling the shoes, the one selling the coats. They all come together in one place. And now you could go whenever you want at your convenience and buy and get what you need with one trip. You can buy this over there, buy it over there. So he did a great thing for them to set up the marketplaces for them. Another thing that he did was, in the short time that he was there, he was so anxious to do good for the community, the people that he's with. These are people, God's creations. God is always doing good for people. So all great people want to emulate God. God does good for everybody. He wants also good for everybody. So what did he do? He set up bathhouses. Till then, how would people wash themselves? They go to the river. The old times, go to the river, wash yourself, and jump in the river, whatever it is, which is a very poor way of hygiene and of people keeping themselves clean. So he made bathhouses with hot water. He heat it up. People could go. And it's not in the winter. You have to go to the river and freeze. So you have a bathhouse which is heat inside, there's water to wash with. He did for the tzibur. In the old times, in the different cities, they didn't have that. We take it for granted today. We have all kinds of plumbing systems with showers, with baths, and so on. But they didn't have running water in those days. I realized that. There was no running water. They had to go to a well and draw water in order to be able to drink, to wash, to cook. It was not like things are today. But that was something new that he made for them. They made from the bathhouses. And the third thing he did for them, matbeya tikkun lohem. He established a monetary system. Until then, they lived by bartering. I'm sure you know what bartering is. You don't have a money system. You have a goat, and he has apples. So you trade with him. I need apples, you need a goat? Take my goat, I'll take your apples. Then you go down the street, and then you see some oranges. So take some oranges, I'll take some apples. And whatever, you need a pair of shoes. So you take your cow, maybe, and give me some milk. I'll give you some milk, give me some shoes. Bartering, people giving objects for objects. Naturally, if there's no money, there's no coins, you can't live unless you barter. So he established a monetary system of coins that we're used to today. Such a better system of doing business. Naturally, people you say, I give a goat for your oranges. How much is the goat worth? How much the oranges worth? Is it a fair trade? You have to such a primitive way of doing of living. If you have money has a certain value to it, so you know how much it costs. You're able to buy things much easier. It's much of an honest trade. You know what you're getting, you know what you're giving. So all these three things, imagine that. Yaakov Avinu goes to a city, and he wants to do good. He wants to emulate God. God does good all the time. He wanted for these people to do good for them. So he set up these three new ideas for the city of Shechem. He made for them shvakim, marketplaces, bathhouses, monetary system. He set up for them, was a new life for them. Imagine that. All of a sudden, it must have been such excitement with such a new innovations that he introduced into the city. But he felt that he wants to do good for the people. But they did not reciprocate in such a way, which we're going to learn next week, oh, Mirz Hashem. He did such good for them, but they didn't do too good for him. And this is a setup for the upcoming event that happened, which was terrible, which was one of the worst things that happened in Yaakov Avinu's life, that happened in the city of Shechem. After he did such good for them, they turned against him. Something happened which made a very big effect, had a big effect on him. And I'm not going to tell you what it was. So next week we'll see. But in the meantime, we can learn so much from what we learned tonight to see, number one, to realize that if we do the right thing, God will watch over us monetarily, physically, in all ways, in our knowledge of Torah, and also that we should always try to solve problems and not be aloof from problems and certainly not become part of the problem, but do like Yaakov Avinu, that he went ahead and he tried his best for everybody to enjoy life the best that they can through his actions and his innovations. When we come to a situation, we come to a place, and whether it's our own homes or a different home, and we can able to make things better. Let's try to solve problems, make things better, certainly not to be part of the problem. So this is something that we can try to learn and live by. Wherever we find ourselves, this city, that city, visiting, whatever, in the different situations, what can I do to make things better over here? I want to emulate God. God always makes good things happen. What can I do to make good things happen? And with these words, we will get into our questions and answers, if anybody has.
Hold on.
What kind of money it was in who it was a monopoly, who printed them, or what kind of system?
Which system are you going on?
Yaakov established the money.
The money system.
Yeah, what kind?
Coins. Such things as coins. There's no bartering.
And who made them? It only was in his hands, or who made these coins?
Well, you have the people, the goldsmith and the silversmith. They make coins, and then they have to put in the form of the coin. But the people who deal with metals, they're the ones that make coins, and then they have a certain shavias. They have a certain amount of money that they're worth, a certain value, and you know the value of a coin. Then you can buy something with it. You know exactly what you're getting, what you're giving. If you're bartering, it's hard to know what you're getting, what you're giving. If it's equal, it might be. You're giving too much and getting too little. So it's a very much better system to have a monetary system than a bartering system.
We have a very interesting online question.
Yes.
This was Eli in, I don't know where. Eli asked the following question. Oh, Tom's River, I see there. Okay, Eli in Tom's River wants to know. He sent in a whole quote here. Somebody in Israel posted a question online, not here, to a discussion forum in Israel, describing their experience having gone to a makubal, a Kabbalist, for a blessing to have a child. And they had to guarantee certain amounts of money if the wife gets pregnant, certain amount of money if they actually have a child, and they has to be the sandik, this makubal has to be the sandik at the bris. And they got a very bad feeling after their 5-minute meeting with the rabbi, with the makubal. The rabbi who they asked the question to responded that people should stop going to mekubalim and should start praying to God instead. They wouldn't know what Rabbi Mintz thinks about this.
Well, I agree with that rabbi. Basically, today, people are doing all kinds of things. We're being bombarded in the mail with all kinds of different offers of promises of doing this and doing that and giving money to this and giving money to that. And some people start relying on people instead of relying on God. So they said, well, go to Makubal, and he says, you have to know who the Makubal is. There are a lot of people that are farces. A lot of people claim Makubal today, and people just go to them just to name Makubal, and they think that that's going to be take care of all their problems. I would say most of the people today are not authentic, and Makubal means a person who is well versed in the secrets of the Torah, and there are very few people today who are well versed in the secrets of the Torah. But people have a certain kind of a feeling makubal, something that's abstract. It's like a kind of magical kind of feeling of makubal because he's connected to the secrets of the Torah. But that's not really what we should be looking into. We should be looking into our prayers, giving charity. That's what the Chafetz Chaim tells us. People who need different types of help, and they go and do all kinds of things, but they don't listen to what the Torah tells us to do. The Torah tells us if you need something, pray to God, give charity. Those are the things that are going to help. There are great people who give blessings. If we know for sure they're a great person, we know we go to a great person to get a blessing. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be makubal. It can be a great person versed in Torah knowledge, and we go to get a blessing from them. But it has to be somebody that is accepted by the Jewish people, not somebody who puts a shingle outside, makubal, makes advertisement, and do this and do that, and give me money, and give me this honor, whatever it is. You have to be very careful who we depend upon. So I would say that this person that told them what they said, I think they're basically right. I'm just adding on to that if somebody who we know for sure has a reputation by great people that he is authentic, reliable, it's worthwhile to go for a blessing for him. But not to rely on the blessing, we want to rely on God. God tells us going to get a blessing, so we listen to God to get a blessing, but we're relying on God, not on the person. We're relying on God, not on the charity, but we have a mitzvah of charity, so therefore God says, I'll help you if you give charity, but we're relying on God, not on the person and nothing else. So that's how I would answer my comment to that person.
So it says that Yaakov is complete. Does the Torah comment on his family, his children, his wives? Are they considered complete? Or what would be the interpretation of their completeness?
Well, we're going to learn a lot about the children. They're coming up very soon. The next week, Mr. Hashem, with this terrible thing that happened in the family, had a lot to do with the children. And we're going to get an idea and a good bird's eye view into the family about certain things. But certainly all of the children called Mitasa Shalema. His bed was complete. All of his children were tzaddikim. All of them were righteous people. Avraham Avinu was not like that. Avraham Avinu had a son, Yitzchak, who was a tzaddik, but he also says Ishmael was not a tzaddik. When he died, he was a tzaddik, he did tshuva. Yitzchak had a child, Yaakov was a tzaddik, Esau was not a tzaddik. Yaakov's children, all of them were tzaddikim. All the sons and his daughter were all tzaddikim. They were great people. His wives were great people. Naturally, Rachel, Leah, they were great, righteous women, from the most righteous people in the world. So they, the Torah tells us, we studied about them before, the greatness that they were. So his family was a very great family.
So was that held against Abraham and Yitzchak, the fact that they had children that are not of Torah following? Is that sort of like bringing them to a lower level? I mean, because that really came from God, didn't it?
We once explained that according to the Kabbalim, we're talking about Kabbalim, the ones the secrets of the Torah tell us that Yaakov was able to be what he was because Avram was what he was, and Yitzchak was he was. Avram, he had one bad child, sort of the bad in him went out into Esau. The bad of Yitzchak went, into Ishmael. The bad of Yitzchak went into Esau. So now Yaakov was able to be so great because he had his forefathers before him that they set up the stage for him to be as great as he was. It wouldn't be for them, he wouldn't be Yaakov. He had to come out to them first in order to him to be as great as he was.
Thank you.
Perfect segue to a online question here about Esav.
What was that? What was that?
We have a great we have an online question about Esav.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand the question, but I'll read it. Somebody, Bracha, who's a Torah mate has 2 Torah mates. She spent the last 4 years studying. She'd like to know the following. Can you kindly discuss Esav's part in the redemption process? It has been said that the current spiritual holocaust that has affected many of our sleeping Jewish brothers and sisters will be surprisingly jolted by the unique role of Esav in the return as part of the process of running and returning. This question could be preceded by a brief definition of what Esav represents in the Torah. I would like to hear what you say about this very pertinent idea.
total news to me. I don't know what the basis for that is and what the root of that is. That Esav will be part of the redemption process. And possibly what is meant is that, of course, I'm just putting it into it, I mean, which is true, that by being in Golus, we're not now considered in the Golus of Esav. The Jews went through 5 different categories of exile. The first was in Egypt, and then Bavel, Persamodai, and Yavan, and now we're in the Golus of Edom, which is Esav. This is the last Golus, and from here we go to redemption, to Mashiach. So by being in the Golus and facing the challenges of Golus and the problems of Golus and the evil of Golus that we face, and the Jewish people stand up to the challenge and live the way they should, so that's what brings the Geula. So being amongst Esav, who is our enemies, who try to destroy us and try to make us sin, if we stand up to the challenge, so therefore we can bring the Geula faster, Mashiach to come. So I wouldn't exactly say Esav is part of the Geula. I mean, he causes it to come, but not because of a positive kind of connection, but it's more of a negative type of connection. We have to make a positive life and mitzvahs out of the negative portion that Esav puts in front of us. But if that's what that means.
Just wondering if she means the discussion of Yaakov and Esav as they parted ways. Yaakov said, "Ad asher avay Elochi seira, va'olu meishim b'aretz Tzion l'shpeites haresav." That when Mashiach comes, or Lased Lavo, there'll be some sort of judgment on.
Judgment of Esav to give them their punishment. It doesn't mean that they were part of the Geula. That's the ultimately the Esav will be judged for the wickedness that they did with the Holocaust and the pogroms and the Inquisitions and the other thing they did against the Jewish people that were in their Golus now. They'll be judged by it, but that's not to the benefit. That's for the. So I'm not sure what the person means of that.
Anybody else in the room?
Is there any difference between the 5 gullahs that you mentioned? Any differences?
Oh yes. Everyone is unique, and everyone has its own challenge and its own holiday. Mitzrayim, it was the holiday of Passover, Pesach. And Bavel, you have the Jews went to Bavel, they came back out of Bavel. There's no special holiday that was designated for coming out of Bavel. From Yavan, you have Chanukah. For Yavan, the Greeks is Chanukah, and Purim is Modai, and of course the Mashiach will come. Or Edom will be a great holiday in itself. So each one has its own flavor. Each nation that we went through has its own challenge, which is discussed when it comes to those holidays sometimes. What exactly each one has its own challenge, what it is. But each one is a challenge for the Jewish people to grow and to face that challenge and overcome it and become better and outstanding at that particular challenge that they have. And by going through all of them, that's how the Jewish people become complete in their service to Hashem, by being able to stand up to every challenge in itself. It's a very good question, but definitely each one has its own flavor to it, own challenge to it.
Okay, if a person knows that the Lashon Hara is being spoken about a person, should they tell the person who is the subject of the Lashon Hara what is being said about them? Somebody's being slandered, should they tell the person what is being said about them?
Well, it really depends if the person stands to gain by knowing what it is. So to tell, it really goes into the question of Rechilas. We didn't get into Rechilas yet. Rechilas means that telling somebody, you know what, he spoke Lashon Hara about you.
I don't think they're discussing mentioning who said it, just that
Yeah.
they should know what's being said about them on the street.
But I mean, so if you say who said it, then it's you're not allowed to make enemies between them. But if you're saying that you just on the information that was said about the person, so if it makes a difference to him, you have to tell him in order to watch himself, to be careful and not to be harmed by what's being said about him. If there's no difference to him whatsoever, why tell him and make him feel bad? You know, they're talking Lashon about you, it's not about you. Something was very good about it, I'm sure. What are they saying? Why? What's wrong? What's wrong with me? It just makes them upset. So you don't tell somebody for no reason that they're speaking Lashon Hara about him because it's just going to make them upset. But if they had something, they're saying something about that, it makes a difference to him. If he knows about it, he'll be able to watch himself for something bad, or to better himself, or to whatever has a purpose to it. So then it would be a mitzvah to tell him.
I have a simple question. Yaakov went to Shechem.
Yes.
Why he went to Shechem if it was such a bad place? What is the reason?
Well, we don't know it's a bad place until we see what happens there. If it's over the Jewish history, this is the first time that something happened. But it wasn't until then, it was okay. It it had a lot good to it also, Shechem, everything bad. But Yosef was given the Shechem as a city for him. God gave a special present, the city of Shechem. So it had evil to it, but it had good things to it also. But we don't know the evil yet until we see what happens there. Then we'll see what. But till now, there was nothing wrong with Shechem. It was one of the first cities he came to on the traveling back from where he was to get to Yitzchak and Rivka, his mother. They came into the land of Israel, and that was one of the first cities they came to. So they came to Shechem. It was Erev Shabbos. They couldn't go any further. They rested on Shabbos in Shechem. That's what the city they came to.
Okay. There's a question. We're coming up to the fasts. I think Rabbi Mintz mentioned it earlier about the 3 weeks. We're coming up to the 3 weeks of mourning for the destruction of the temple. Today, much of Israel is rebuilt. Why are we still mourning?
Well, first of all, we have so many problems in the land of Israel today. It's rebuilt, but look at all the problems we have with the Arabs living together with us, and this fear that we have of the Arab neighbors living within the land of Israel, and all the fear we have, all the Arab nations all around us from without, all the threats that they have, and all the new governments coming up now. In Egypt, they were pretty good terms now. Now these new chevra come in, and they're speaking, they wanted to start up Israel again. And all the nations around us are very scary. So we have a lot to overcome before we say we're able to feel very secure. We're not secure at all in the land of Israel. But more than that, the main happiness and success of the land of Israel is God coming with the Shekhinah, coming to live with us, together with us. That is the building of the Beis HaMikdash, building of the Holy Temple. That is the main thing we're looking forward to. That is the main holiness of the land, when God has a Shekhinah, when He rests in the Beis HaMikdash. And that's why we're fasting. It was destroyed, and we lost that great connection and the love and the attention that God gave us through the Beis HaMikdash. We're missing that today. And that's what we're looking forward to. That should be rebuilt with the coming of Mashiach, and then we'll again have this great relationship with God that we had once upon a time, many years ago when the Beis HaMikdash was standing. So even though there is a betterment in the situation of Israel than it was 100 years ago, because then there was no, the Jews, the hard-to-land Jews lived in the land of Israel at all. Now we have a big population there. But it's far from what we want it to be. We have a lot to go yet in order, especially building the Beis HaMikdash. That's something that we're yearning for, and that's what we're aiming for, and that's what we're trying our best to have through our prayers and our actions and everything. We're trying to get the Shekhinah back, the Beis HaMikdash to be built again. So we have reason to fast When till that Beis Hamikdash is built, we're missing so much. We have to have it back again.
I was talking to someone this week, and one of his family member passed away on Shabbat last week, and he was telling me that every Jew, like if he die in Shabbat, like he go to heaven. Like what about like if it's if it's someone like he don't keep mitzvot, like he's a rasha, is it true?
That's not a guarantee to go to heaven if a person passes away in Shabbat. No. It's a person who's a righteous person will benefit from passing away and dying on Shabbat. But to say that's a free pass, dying Shabbat, you go to heaven, sorry, it doesn't work that way. You have to have the right credentials and the right actions and the right life a person has to live. But saying that so simply, that doesn't work that way. It's a person who is worthy of going to the world to come, and going to Gan Eden, going to heaven, that we call it. Dying Shabbat will be an extra enjoyment for them, extra pleasure, but it's not a guarantee. Tell the person, got to do better than that, sorry. Some people want a free pass. They want to get into easy, Just right in. To get to heaven, you got to do a lot of work. It doesn't go so fast. Big job. No easy way. Got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get into heaven. Yes.
Someone who's I don't know if it's camera shy or microphone shy, would like to know, they heard in a class.
Somebody's here?
Somebody's here, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Somebody heard in a class that 1 hour of tefillah, of prayer during Elul, is worth 12 hours of prayer during the year. Is that true? Is there a basis for that formula or for that concept?
Yes. That a moment of prayer during Elul and the high holy days of Rosh Hashanah, 10 days of penitence, Yom Kippur, the tefillahs they've got the 12, that's not meduyak, it's not exactly correct. How many times more, who knows, God knows. But the prayer a person does during the days of Rotzain, days of acceptance, and Elul, coming up, a month and a half, 2 months, are more acceptable than prayers we say a whole year. That's true. That's written in the Sforim. The holy books talk about that. Do we have any other questions? Here we go.
It seems that Yaakov had to go through a lot more suffering than his fathers, Avraham and Yitzchak, even though Avraham and Yitzchak went through their own ordeals. But from talking about everything Yaakov had to go through with all the years with Lavan, and not only being with Lavan for all those years, which may have been so difficult in and of itself, but then the went through with Rachel and Leah, and the ordeal you're alluding to with Shechem, and later losing his son Yosef, thinking that he died. It certainly seems that he had to suffer more than Avraham and Yitzchak. Would you say that this is true? And if so, especially considering that he was the son of Yitzchak, the grandson of Avraham, why would Yaakov have had to have suffered so much more than his fathers? Especially considering when we learned that he was so complete, he had so much knowledge, he studied so hard. What was the purpose of Yaakov having to go through so much suffering?
Well, it's very difficult to compare sufferings. Avram Avinu went through terrible suffering. He had to live underground, literally, for many years. And he was chased by Nimrod, wanted to kill him. and he had a lot of people against him. So it's a little hard to really to compare, but it seems that what you're right. It seems that Yaakov did have more suffering. So later on, Tzoros. We met Paro later on. We'll learn about that. He looked so old. Paro asked, "How old are you?" Paro asked him when Yosef came to Mitzrayim. The whole story, we sold to Mitzrayim, and then the whole famine had the land, and Yaakov came down to Mitzrayim, and Yosef introduced his father to Paro, King Paro, the king of Egypt. And Paro said to Yaakov, "How old are you?" He looked so old, he looked so white. He said, people didn't live so long anymore at that time. In the early days of the Chumash, people lived 500 years, 10 years, 1,000 years. But at that time, people didn't live so long. And he said, "You look so old." So he told him, "Well, I'm not so old. I went through so much suffering. That's why I look so old, because I got white prematurely." And so he did suffer, it seems, more than the other ones. And even Avram Yitzchak didn't suffer. He explained his whole Avodas Hashem was a different type of Avodah. But Yaakov seems that he did Tzoros. He once enumerated Tzoros Yosef, Tzoros Dinah, Tzoros Rachel, Tzoros Shimon. So he went through all of his Tzoros until the last 17 years of his life. He finally had some menucha. In the last 17 years when he's in Egypt, he had some peaceful years. But he went through terrible suffering, terrible pain. And we once brought out the fact that all the suffering started at the time he got the blessings from Yitzchak, which seems really a paradox, very strange. He goes and gets the blessings from Yitzchak. He's blessed by Yitzchak. Till then, his life was pretty good, very good in life. He was with his parents. He was studying Torah. All of us. He got the blessings. Then he really should have gotten good. And that's when the thing went haywire. He had to run away, and till the last 17 years of his life, he had a very difficult life. And the reason is, I explained once before, that he was trailblazing the future of the Jewish people by suffering and going through what he went through. He was preparing the Jewish nation for what they're going to get in the future, to God's special people, accepting the Torah Mount Sinai. This takes a lot of work, a lot of preparation, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, again, we'll use the expression. And he was the last one of the great patriarchs, and he was the one who had to set up the whole the whole situation of the Jewish people, who he was at that time, that they should be worthy of accepting the Torah Mount Sinai and be God's people. So through his suffering, he was called Bechir Shai. He was the chosen one of all the others, the outstanding one of everybody, because he had his forerunners before him. That's why he's been able to become what he was. But he was a great person because he was a child of Avram and Yitzchak, and he was the most outstanding one, and therefore he had the burden of perfecting the Jewish people with all the source that he had, taking the challenges and using them for something good. And that's why he was the greatest, and therefore the most expected more out of him than anybody else, and therefore had more challenges, because the greater you are, the more challenges God gives a person. He's the greatest of the three, and therefore he's the most challenging of the three.
Shkoyach. Thank you.
Aaron Cohn in Philadelphia would like to know, what is the meaning of the verse Hashmein? There's a pasuk, there's a verse in Yeshaya that says Hashmein leiv ha'amazev ve'oznav hachbeid ve'inav hasha pen yireh be'inav ve'oznav yishma v'vayavin v'shav v'rafaloi. This people's heart is becoming fat, his ears are becoming heavy, his eyes are becoming sealed, lest he see with his eyes and hear with his ears, and his heart understand, and he repent and be healed. Which would seem to imply that there are people who God prevents from doing repentance, prevents from repenting by putting obstacles in their way. I'd like to understand that.
No, that's, no, with all due respect to Rabbi Aaron, that's not what the pasuk means over there. The Navi is giving Musar, rebuking the Jewish people, saying to them, your ears are heavy, your eyes are covered. You, because of you, not because of God, because of them. They're not listening to the Navi. They're not seeing what they should see. They're not hearing what they should hear. They are making themselves like that. The God's coming to Novi, the prophet is giving the rebuke. Why are you doing that? Why are you making your ears heavy from listening to the words of the prophets and singing the words of the Torah? He's giving that as rebuke, as mussar to them, not that God's doing to them. They're doing it to themselves. That's what the pasuk means over there. Any other questions we got? Comments? Okay, so we hope by next week. Maybe you won't have to fast, Rabbi Thomas. Maybe it'll be Mashiach will come before next Tuesday. You won't have to fast. So that'll be the best thing.
Everybody, please remember to sign in if you haven't signed in yet.
In case somebody was fasting next week, so by the time we finish our shmooze next week, there'll be what to eat over here. Be able to break the fast with some food we'll have over here. Everybody, good night, everybody. All the best.